أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم أما بعد. Dear viewers, Alhamdulillah, we're here every week, 9 o'clock. My name is Abu Mumin, your host. Unfortunately, today my co-host, or my host, the main host, Abdul Mia, he had to fly out due to an emergency. And Alhamdulillah, I've decided to be the main host today. Alhamdulillah, you all have joined. This is a very important topic. Uh, uh, the debate, the big debate is Bangla language dying in the UK? We're not talking about around the world. It's the UK. It's a subject that all communities should be asking. It's a topic that needs to be discussed by all communities because with the first, second generation, third generation, fourth, fifth, this question needs to be asked. And we as a community, the Bengali speaking community, we need to ask this question because it played a big part in our lives, in my life. So inshallah, most of the program will be in English, because we've got quite a lot of viewers, a lot of young people who are watching. Now, before we go into the discussion, I want to welcome our guest, Muhammad Abdullah, is a filmmaker. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam,
Alaikum
Brother
salam.
Abu Bhai. And it's nice to join the other guests as well. But please do introduce them.
Inshallah. Muhammad's going to do the warm-up later on, live warm-up session, very quick one. Then we got Tanzila Zaman from Bank of Ideas. Assalamu alaikum, Tanzila.
Alaikum assalam, Bhaiya. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is very nice with my amazing brothers from community and having a discussion. This is a vital topic. Thank you.
Alaikum salam, alhamdulillah. Then Rupam Mia is from Arabica Institute. Assalamu alaikum, Rupam.
Wa alaikum salam, my pleasure.
Okay.
As always.
Okay. Now, because Rupam, I'm going to put people on the spot just so that you understand a bit of context and about us. Rupam, if you don't mind, you start first. If you could introduce yourself in Bangla, your dad's name, and your Bangladesh area you're from.
Oh, but you've really put me on the spot.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I've known Abu Bhai since a young kid, right? He was my mentor, like so many of us in Tower Hamlets, and I'm actually quite disappointed not to see Abu Bhai here as well. But he's just put me on the spot. I can't articulate myself in Bangla, whether it's short or it's Sylheti. I struggle. I really, really struggle. And the conundrum is an extra challenge for me because, and this is the context, I've actually married outside of the Bangladeshi fold. So my wife is Caucasian. She's half Russian, half Lithuanian. The challenge we have within our own household is I still have deep connections and a strong relationship with my family, who are obviously from Sylhet, Shinamganji, through and through. And my children need to relate to my mum, whose English isn't brilliant. She can get by like a lot of that generation, but she struggles. Now, Abu Bhai knows this. Since a very, very young age, as I was growing up in Tower Hamlets, one of the survival tactics that I developed, because I grew up in a very white-dominated part of Tower Hamlets, and the fact that generally, relatively speaking, I'm quite fair, and a lot of people didn't really think I was Bangladeshi. Still, some people think I'm probably North African or whatever. And one of the survival tactics I used growing up in Tower Hamlets was actually not to identify myself as Bangladeshi. So I hardly spoke Bengali or let my friends know that I was Bengali. And so for many years, I actually lost touch with the Bangla language. So when I connected with
Rupam, we'll come
Yeah.
back to that, inshallah. Okay, Sister Tanzila Zaman, same question. If you could introduce yourself in Bangla, your dad's name, where you're from, what you do in Bangla.
ধন্যবাদ ভাইয়া, অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ যারা এই মুহূর্তে আমাদের সবার সাথে জয়েন হয়েছেন। সবাইকে অনেক শুভেচ্ছা, ভালোবাসা। আমি তানজিলা জামান, কমিউনিটিতে কাজ করছি অ্যাজ এ প্যারেন্ট এবং স্পেশালি উইমেন কোচ হিসাবে। আমি মাদার টাং প্রমোট করি। যারা জানেন, ব্যাংক অফ আইডিয়াস থেকে মোর দ্যান 6 ইয়ার্স আমি বিভিন্ন ওয়ার্কশপ, এডুকেশনাল সেশন রান করে থাকি। আমার জন্ম বরিশালে। আমার বাবা হলেন হাবিবুজ্জামান, তিনি একজন প্রকৌশলী, বাংলাদেশে আছেন বরিশালে। আর আমি লন্ডনে, আমার হাজবেন্ড এবং আমার বাচ্চা নিয়ে আমি লন্ডনে আছি এবং কমিউনিটিতে যে মেন্টর, যে কোচ হিসেবে কাজ করছি। সাথে সাথে আমি রেড ব্রিজ কলেজের ক্যারিয়ার মেন্টর হিসেবে কাজ করছি এবং এর সাথে নতুন করে জয়েন হয়েছি প্রিন্সেস ডায়ানার অর্গানাইজেশন, ডায়ানা অ্যাওয়ার্ড, সেখানে অ্যাজ এ ক্যারিয়ার মেন্টর হিসেবে। থ্যাংক ইউ, ধন্যবাদ।
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, we have already over, I think, 40 people already who are hooked up. And all I will say to everyone, please comment, share, and call in English or Bangla. We have our experts. Now, Muhammad Abdullah, if you could kindly introduce yourself.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. যারা আমরা দেখরা অনলাইনে মাঝে আর আমার ফেলো গেস্টরে শুভেচ্ছা দিলাম। তো আমিও আসলে এক্সপার্ট নাই বাসাতে মাঝে, বাট আমি যতক্ষণ আমি চেষ্টা করি আমি মাতিলাই জানলাম না আমার সহজ সময় বুঝতে পারি। বাট মেইন থিং আমি মনে করলাম যে জেলা মাত্রা আপনি বুঝতে হই ভাই। সো সিলেটি মাতনু, কিছু শুদ্ধ মাতনু, যেটা আমি বাংলা আমি লন্ডন থাকি আমি শিখছি, শুনছি, ও ভাষা আমি কিছু বলবো। সো আমার দেশের বাড়ি হয়েছেন গিয়া বিশ্বনাথ, সিলেট ডিস্ট্রিক্টের মাঝে। আর আমার আব্বার নাম পাসপোর্টের নাম লেখা আসলা, বাংলাদেশি পাসপোর্টের নাম লেখা আছে হলো গিয়া আজর আলী, হাজি আজর আলী সিনবা। আর দেশও সিনবা যে বাবা নাম হয়েছেন গিয়া শরাফত আলী। সো ওটা আমার কিছু ইতিহাস, মাই হিস্টোরি। সো আর যদি কিছু আপনার জন্য একটা প্রশ্ন যদি আমার গেস্ট রূপা আর আফা আপনার জামান আপনার হইছো, এখন জামান হয়ে আমার মনে করেন যে ইটস এ ভেরি সুন্দর একটা নাম জামান। লাইক মা এখন বয়ন আছেন হাসিনা জামান, জানলাম না থাইনি এখন আমরা দেখলানি, বাট আপনিও চিনতে পারবাই। বাট যাই হোক, বরিশাল is right next to Dhaka, it's very interesting. And রূপা ভাই আপনি তো বলছিল সুনামগঞ্জ, right?
Yeah.
So that's like in the Sylhet district. But obviously আমরা লন্ডন থাকি, আমরা শিখছি আমরা বাংলা, আমরা সকল সময় আমরা বাংলাদেশি আমি শিখছি না। বাট আমি একটা ভিডিও মালাইছিলাম, যে আমি কিছু রিসার্চ করে দেখছি যে না আমরা আসলে শুধু খালি আমরা বাংলাদেশ ও ইউকে মাঝে আমরা বাংলা মাত্র না, আসলে পৃথিবীর মাঝে আমরা বাঙালি না হন তারও মাত্রা, বাট ডায়াসপোরার মাঝে মাত্র বিভিন্ন দেশর বিভিন্ন কন্টিনেন্ট থাকি। সো যদি আমরা মনে হয় বাংলাদেশে 160 মিলিয়ন মানুষ থাকেন, বাট বাংলাদেশের বাইরে মিলিয়ন জন আসেন। এটা হিসাব করি আমি বর্তমানে 250 মিলিয়ন মানুষে বাংলা মারতে পারে।
250 million.
Yes.
So like 250 million people speak the Bangla language.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
It's a fact, and it's visible. Actually, in Bangladesh is a nation state. Yes, and our families may hail from there, but it's a wider area. of a people that speak a Sanskrit language. So আমরা প্রায় বর্তমানে 50 বছর হান্দাত আমরা শুনলাম যে আমার শোনা বাংলা, right? But Amar Shuna Bangla goes beyond the borders of Bangladesh. It goes into India, goes into Burma, it goes into the Middle East, it goes into parts of Africa and the Americas. So it's more than just the nation of Bangladesh as we know it today in 2020.
Okay.
It's really,
let me cut in, Mohammed. Let me just cut in. Since you've gone on, the people, the viewership has just shot up. It's gone over 50, mashallah. Okay, let me just, আমি introduce করি। আমার নাম হইলো আবু মুমিন। আমার আব্বার নাম মাসুদ মিয়া। আমরা মোহাম্মদ আব্দুল্লাহ ভাই, মোহাম্মদ আহমদুল্লাহ তাই হইতো মার নাম কিতা? আমার আম্মার নাম সালেহা বেগম। বাড়ি হইলো বালাগঞ্জ। Inshallah. Now, the important question to all my guests and everybody who is watching, is Bangla language dying in the UK? And you have to understand, majority of the panelists are people who are second generation, and this is our reality, and that's why we're speaking language. Muhammad Abdullah is really trying, and I know he knows a lot of Bangla. He knows a lot of culture of Bangladesh that you more than you and me. But you can see he is a fusion of English and Bangla. Rupon, he understands. It's difficult to communicate, like many of our children. Okay, and alhamdulillah, we got Sister Tanzila. She's brilliant. Okay, so we got a well balanced. I have to say, we had other guests, Nurul Islam from Mine Community Project, Salam Jones, Mahara Ruby. They couldn't come. We'll do another show. Okay, before we go and discuss this question, do you have some warm-up questions for us, or warm-up for just before we begin, Muhammad?
Okay, all right. You give me a lot of time now, Abu Bay, and I don't want to hog this discussion, but quickly, to my sister Tanzila and brother Ripon, we know now, obviously, that Bangladesh's national language is Bengali. But what parts of India speak Bangla as a majority local state language? Question for you, brother Ripon. Which other areas of the world, specifically in India, speak Bengali as a state language?
I've got to think perhaps Calcutta.
So, which country? Which area? Sorry.
He said Calcutta.
Excellent. That is a city within the district of Tanzila. Which district of India is Kolkata located in?
I think পশ্চিমবঙ্গ বলে ভাইয়া। I think পশ্চিমবঙ্গ বলে। তবে এছাড়াও আমি জানি যতটা যে আসাম, ত্রিপুরা এই সমস্ত জায়গায় বাংলা চর্চা ছিল।
Exactly, Tik. It's a right. You're on there, Tanzila. Poschim Bengal or Poschim Bangla is West Bengal. So West Bengal actually wraps Bangladesh around from the west side, and it goes all the way up to the north of Bangladesh. So cities like Kolkata, as well as the hill stations that go into West Bengal, all the way up to the top of northern Bangladesh. That is the state of West Bengal. Now, Assam is more north of Sylhet district, and Assam is also another state, Assam tea, that they speak Bangla as well, and it's actually closer to the dialect of Sylheti Bangla in northern eastern India. So that's just some political and geographical boundaries and states. That's also
Muhammad, I've got family members who live in Assam, in India. and they speak Sylheti. Yeah.
And that would make complete sense because it's closer. Assam is closer to Sylhet than Kolkata is to Sylhet. Kolkata
Okay.
Bangla is more closer to the Shubda Bangla that we read and listen to, especially in the mainstream Bangladeshi media.
Okay, I'm going to have to interject. We've done the warm up. You didn't ask a question to Tanzila. We'll come back to her later. Yeah, we'll come back to her later. Let's go to the main, because there are some people, they want us to speak in Bangla. Yeah, this is majority of us make up, second generation. We've a certain, we'll try to speak some Bangla. The majority of the show will be in English. So the question is, to Rupon, you can answer first. Is Bangla language dying in the UK?
Yeah, from the evidence, I'm just observing right now. Look, when we're talking about the language itself, even in its broken form and the way we've meshed it with, let's say, the vernacular English, um, definitely in its pure form, it's being diluted and it's being lost. And I say this out of regret and a little bit of nostalgia. I'm not proud of it. I'm as you can see from my demeanor, I'm slightly ashamed of the fact that I do struggle to speak Sylheti and I struggle to speak
Rupon,
Bangla.
one of our people who commented, she said, not knowing your own language, you should be ashamed. But that's our reality. Where
Yeah,
you
but
are,
listen,
where you are,
hold on.
no, no, just say,
There is,
where you are,
yeah,
my children are in the same position. Yeah. So sorry, I'll let you speak now, Rupon.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's helpful to finger point because I don't want to go down the blame game thing. It's the context in which we grew up, the context in which we grew up in our household. I was very, very disengaged from my family. I mean, in the early 90s, we had a huge identity crisis amongst Bangladeshis and Muslims in general, with the exposure to racism and having to or wanting to fit into mainstream society, and those dynamics have played a major part. I mean, the irony of all of this is, I spoke to my mum actually just before coming on, and she told me that when she used to send me to the Bangla schools, I was a top student. So up to about the age of 11, 12, my Bangla apparently, out of all my family members and within my Bangla school, was really, really good. So something happened from the age of 11 up until the age of from my teens, and that's a social dynamic.
Okay, the very important points. Sister Tanzina, Muhammad Jahangir Alam, he says our children might be wiped out of our history, heritage, and culture if they forget the language. Do you think the Bangla language is dying in the UK?
Uh, if I, from my observation, if I say it's not about dying, it's about like likelihood dying, like fading away because of the context, as you saying, Bhaiya, that the second generation, third generation, fourth generation. So everything I want to say is not about complaining word. I want to say we need to bring up the awareness, simply the awareness, because I can feel how Bhaiya spoke that I like the word he used, though it's true, because disengaged, like he was not engaged. So the beauty of language or anything is like connection. So we need to be more connected to each other, engage each other. So like I am a young parent, you can see. I have a child 10 years old. So I am responsible for my child. So as a parent in home, if I don't speak Bhaiya, if I don't say everything in Bangla, it doesn't matter how much he understands. It matters how much I try to make him understand, try to inspire, try to encourage. So from my context, all I want to say, no blaming, no negative. All the matter is simply as a parent, This is our duty, our situation, make better for them, because the child, they born here, so naturally they grew up with English language, sign, everything, so they don't know about Bangla, they don't know about the Bangladeshi environment, the culture. So this is me, mom, I need to tell my son, I have another resource, another treasure, Bangla culture. So I need to speak every time in home, because without me, my husband, he has nobody. He going to school, he is going to club, everywhere is English. So how I can expect my son will be speaking in English, in Bangla thoroughly without my effort? So I am.
Can I, Tanzila, can I just say to you,
Yeah.
I think your first language, your mother tongue was Bangla.
Yes,
My
Bhaiya.
mother tongue was Bangla. Our children's mother tongue is English.
Yeah.
And and this is the reality. Rupon, he married somebody who's not Bangla. So she, the children's mother tongue is wherever Rupan's wife is from. Yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of priorities. I remember, I'm just want to get Muhammad in. Muhammad, in the 1970s, in the 1980s, my own parents paid for me to go to Bangla classes and Arabic classes. This has all stopped. Can you just answer, is Bangla language dying in the UK?
I don't think it actually is. I think our input has been less. We haven't had the same level of effort, generally speaking, especially those from I would say from a Sileti background. We've given perhaps we've given more influence on our parents, sorry, our children, to learn more English and Arabic, as opposed to maybe parents from other parts of Bangladesh, especially those who have recently arrived Bangladeshis to teach their children Bangla in addition to English. I don't think our second and third generation families and parents have continued with that effort that we were given when we were in our youth. So hence, for us as second third generation Bengalis, we haven't parted with that fever of learning the mother tongue to our children, and hence this is why your children, my children, probably even Ripon and Tanzla's or Ripon's children. I'm not sure about Tanzla. I mean, obviously, Boyna Bolchula's in a Tain Saida, Dr. Seller Shikaiba lagi. But আমরা কিভাবে আমরা effort দিলাম আমরা full time there. So
Can I just interject? Can I just interject? The Gujarati community, the Pakistani community, they are successful at preserving the language, and they're based in the UK. Even I'm hearing the Chinese, their language is even more complicated. So if they can do it, why can't we do it? What's the problem?
I'd like
And
to
it's
know
open to
what
you.
methods, Abu Bay, I'd like to know what methods are they implementing the other Asian communities, especially the ones who are speaking the Sanskrit language, Gujarati or Urdu. What methods are they employing in order to preserve the language, the culture of the language amongst the families? Because I can see us as Bengalis in the United Kingdom, we are relying probably more now on having the connection with family, Bengali family members to keep it alive. But in terms of the tuition side, are we sending our children to a weekend school or an afternoon school or somewhere online now? And I think this is the way learning is going to go forward if we're going to pass the knowledge of the language going forward. Access to good educators shouldn't necessarily be someone who learned Bangla and has come over recently from Bangladesh, and it's not not even their main profession to teach language. But those who are now available online to teach it would be one way, I would say, and I'm still trying to search for that. So that access can be given there. when Ripun Bhai, your institute, Arabic Institute, you have to tell us a bit more about that because I think that would help us understand how, if you are teaching the Arabic language, would I be correct saying that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to introduce the Arabic Institute, but the interesting phenomenon is, well, the first point to Abu Bai's question, and the crux of the matter with regards to our discussion, is the Bangla language dying in the UK? And you've pointed it out that the Bangla language itself is not homogeneous. There are actually many different types of Bangla speaking, Sylheti being one of them, Shuddha being another. And in terms of observational facts, even if we witness the language being spoken in the streets of Tower Hamlets or whatever, it's not in its, with all due respect, it's not in its pure form. So it has been adulterated and diluted, much like, for example, the vernacular language of, let's say, the African language, and its mixture with French and now and broken English. We call it patois, right? So that's a phenomenon that was observing purely from a sociological perspective. With regards to your question about the take-up of the Arabic language, it is about a hierarchy of needs. And what we're seeing is so many people from the vast English-speaking Muslim community, whether they're Pakistani, Gujarati, Bengali, taking up the Arabic language. Now, that is fundamentally a religious need. So they're looking at it less from a cultural perspective and much more from the perspective of wanting to access Quranic texts, hadiths. Now, the interesting thing, and this is my final point, the language itself is made up of 4 or 5 different areas. So when we speak about language, and we're talking about the preservation of the language, you have to understand there's writing, there's reading, there's listening, comprehension, and there's speaking. Now, when you talk about, let's say, the Arabic language, the vast majority of the Arabic language schools are not teaching the language in its full form. They're teaching one aspect of the language, which is grammar. And I might as well put a plug in, but the Arabic Institute does the full whack. We do speaking and grammar, listening and writing. Now, with regards to the Bangla language, the same phenomena is happening. How many of us actually read Bangla on a regular basis, like accessing Bangla poetry? Like, we have some of the best and world-renowned poets in the world, right? Yet how many of us actually access those poetry? And the final thing I would say is, and it's shame on me, one of my PhD friends, who's actually non-Muslim, he's from a Hindu background, and he's from Calcutta. He introduced me to Bangla poetry from the parts of Bangladesh. So my access and my knowledge of Bangla poetry, even though I read it through the medium of English in translation, was introduced to me not from someone from Bangladesh, but someone from Calcutta. And he was actually quite embarrassed on my behalf, the fact that I haven't preserved my cultural heritage.
Okay. Now, basically, we are going to take calls. But before the calls, I'm going to just get Tanzina in there. Tanzina, Farhana, she says Bangla in the UK hasn't died, but the risk is there if we don't keep the future generation in touch. That's Tanzina. Adora Art says some parents they say they speak to their children in Bangla, but their children respond. I know you've written a book. Can you just try to answer some of those comments and talk about what is that?
This is Mind Your Mother Tongue. This book is written in English because of not only Bangladeshi, the diverse community in UK all over the world.
We've got a call. Let's take this caller and we're going to continue with you. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you all doing?
Alhamdulillah. What's your name and what's your comment, my brother?
Yeah, I'm a teacher. My name is Muhammad. I'm from Tower Hamlets. I live abroad. So I was very intrigued by this topic, and I'm actually a good few hours ahead of you guys. But I thought, you know what, this is a good opportunity for me to just get my thoughts and opinions in regards to this debate. But I'd like to thank you guys for actually opening, giving our community an opportunity to actually discuss language in itself, because it's a topic which I think is quite neglected in regards to what our language is. So I'd like to commend you all for actually, taking the time out and having that community awareness.
Muhammad, only one generation ago. Muhammad, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, only one generation ago, our parents used to pay for Bangla classes. What is going on? What's been provided for our children? Would you be able to answer that?
I mean, look, the question. Okay, before I get to that, right? What I wanna one comment I'd like to make is, first and foremost, what is our language? Like, can you all have an honest thought about what is our language? How do we refer to our language? I'm talking about our mother tongue. Now, if I could ask you guys, the panel, what do you refer to as your mother tongue? How do you address that language?
Okay, we'll answer that question, inshallah. Do you have any other comments to make?
Yeah, I do actually, because I'm very this is a field I'm very interested in, and I'd like to share my understanding and knowledge regarding it. First and foremost, I'd like to make a statement, and that is that Sileti is a respected language in its own right. It's a language that was actually destroyed. The irony of the Bangladeshi independence was that, the war is mentioned to us from the perspective that it was a language it was a war that was fought for language. But the irony of this is a very, very dark irony in regards to this. The last Sileti Nagari printing press was destroyed straight after independence. So my question is, why is it that the Sileti community is so deluded and brainwashed? Because this brainwashing goes back 2 generations. It goes back to the generation of our parents and our grandparents. Our great-grandparents, they actually...
Hold on, Muhammad. What are you saying? There is a Sileti language?
The language is Sileti. We don't speak Bengali, bro. Isn't Ambra Sileti Vasai Mati. Ambra Basa. I'll give you an example, yeah? Would you ever see a Portuguese person say that they speak Spanish, they speak Portuguese or Spanish? And the language is very similar. I'll give you an interesting fact. Portuguese and Spanish.
Okay, Muhammad. We're going to have to, other people are calling. We're going to have to take other calls. We'll try to answer. Yeah, call back again. Listen, we're going to try to answer. Okay, assalamu alaikum. We're going to take more callers. Tanzina, I'm going to just let you interject, and we'll take other callers. Tanzina, please. I think you're muted.
Now?
Yes.
Okay. Maya, shall I speak in Bangla or English? What do you think?
Whatever you feel comfortable.
No, I don't mind, but people...
English.
Okay. So I want to mention that my one of the dearest sister, she wrote here that why I wrote the book. So the book, the intention of writing this book, because of when actually I came in this country about a decade ago. But yeah, I was really shocked. My community, my relatives, the children doesn't know Bangla. So at the moment I was very upset because I was new. But later on, gradually I realized this is not their fault. They are children. They're born in London. So it's me, it's all the parents, they need to teach. Then they can speak Bangla. So the book intention was this book to inspire actually the parents. how important the mother tongue is. It doesn't matter only Bangla, it's matter any mother tongue. So the moment, even I hope you know, all the children's center, they always speak to the mom, always mom speak their mother tongue to the child, because when the child will go to school,
Can I just say, Chandila, I'm going to give you another 20 seconds because we've got a call out. We're going to take that call just to wrap up, because you have to answer. You have to answer, because our mother tongue, our mothers spoke Bangla. Our daughters are speaking English. So the mother tongue is English. Can you try to answer that?
because of naturally they born here, that's why. Because of the environment they born, that's why. But actually, though mother tongue you are saying English, bhaiya, but of course by born, by genetic, Bangla.
Have you, of course, but have you heard Rupon speaking Bangla? Have you heard Muhammad speak Bangla? Have you heard my own children speak Bangla?
No.
It's tough. Let me take the next caller, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, next caller.
Hi, walaikum salam.
Please accept my apologies, dear sister. We're just getting a lot of call, it's an interesting discussion. What is your comment? Try to keep it brief. We've got other callers, inshallah.
Quickly, you've got like all three guests superb. Just like to say that we're not in Bangladesh, we're in the West, in England, and to keep our language alive, we must teach our children, our youngsters and our surroundings, like what does it mean to be Bengali. We need to teach them about our oitujjo. Is it oitujjo, Tanzila?
Our
proud of being Bengali first, and then get them to be interested in Bengali. What I do with my children is like we go through, like we Google different things in Bangladesh, and I show them, like different cultures in Bangladesh, which is very splendid. And then when my children want to go to Bangladesh, they know that they need to learn the language itself. I'm guilty of not speaking Bangla with my children, but I rely on others in my family to do so.
Okay, Farhana,
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. We try to get Farhana onto the show, but next time, inshallah. There's Muhammad Jahangir Alam, he made a recommendation. He says, number one, try to speak Bangla with your children at home. Number one. Number two, instead of going to UAE and places like that for holiday, take your children to Bangladesh instead, and maintain regular contact so that they can speak the language at least. What do you think?
Yeah. I've got one son and one daughter at the moment. My son's in Bangladesh. He went for holiday, half-term holiday. He probably will stay a bit longer. So the whole trip was for him to learn the language and the culture. So I totally agree with that. I do take my children either yearly or every 2 years to Bangladesh.
Yes, we got another caller. Can we just get this next caller in to the show as well? Farhana, do you want to make anything? Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Walaikum salam. Can you hear me?
Yes. What's your name and your comment?
Bro, my name is Kamar.
Kamar.
And I commented on the post earlier, and I'm actually Pakistani, but I have a similar predicament to you guys. So
Yes.
I'm still able to share my thoughts.
So you have the same thing within the Pakistan. Sorry?
Shall I hang up?
You don't need to. If you want to make a comment, it's the same problem with the Pakistani community as well, Kamar, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 100%. Because earlier on, I think you made the comment that there isn't much of a problem with the Pakistani community and the Indian community, bro. But it's far from the truth. Me with my son, I've been speaking. This as advice for everyone that's listening. I've been speaking with my son in my own language since he was born, and I found it very, very challenging. But alhamdulillah, since the last 2 years, he's 7 now, and he's been replying back to me in our own language. But it is very, very big challenge. And I just wanted to point out the comment that Brother Ruton made about going through an identity crisis. I don't think it was necessarily an identity crisis. I think as an ethnic minority, we were suffering from inferior complex, where we wanted to shy away from our own language and culture to try and blend in with the English people. For us to look
and seem like we're blending in and stuff. But in that process, we lost a part of our culture and very much our language as well.
Okay, Naveed, Jazakallah khair for your comment.
Yeah,
Rupon, you will comment. Farhana, before we, is
Before
there
I
anything?
go, yes, I was going to say, like, see, even doing this show, like, you're bringing awareness and people from other countries are calling in as well to be involved. So I just think keep the momentum going, and we need people like Mohammed, who shows us around about Bangladesh. I do watch his videos, and Sister Tanjila, you know, she's raising awareness about the Bangla language. I think that we need to learn our mother tongue and pass it on to our children. If we don't have the responsibility of passing it on to our children, then we're risking of Bangla language dying.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. We've got other callers.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you. Bye.
Rupon, Assalamu alaikum. Rupon, what you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, some of the contributions from the callers have been amazing. On the point of the brother from the Pakistani brother, actually, what he actually described was precisely what you would call an identity crisis. If you have a complex, an inferiority complex, and a crisis of belonging, and where you fit within the wider fabric of society, that's a phenomenon that a lot of second generation migrants or children of migrants experience, like myself. And for us, I mean, where did we belong? So when we went out into the world, into this world of school and colleges and work, there was this one culture that dominated, and then we have another one back inside the house, and there was this conflict. But there is a and I think it was Farhana, and I commend her, and I would just like to say that I do find it really, really important for us to actually reconnect with our mother tongue. Now, the reason, and I've grown to love and learn this as I've had children. So I actually regret the fact that I've lost touch with my language. And I shall mention other things more from a sociological and observational perspective, but I'll leave those remarks later. But I just wanted to add those 2 comments.
Okay, just to Rupon, the 13 Rivers Trust, one of the things we do is we every year, once or twice, we go for aid mission to help the poor and the needy and the orphans. We've set up rescue orphans, and it's an opportunity to do something positive, and also you benefit as a person, reconnect with your roots. So with Silat Aid, anybody who's interested, contact us. That's why we showed you the video right at the beginning of this young orphan girl. Mohammed, your comments. Right now, if anybody wants to call, the phone line is free. Mohammed, the next minute is yours. We lost you, Mohammed.
He has to unmute himself. Can he?
Okay, Mohammed, we can't hear you for some reason.
Hear you.
Okay, I can hear
Right.
you. Yes.
Thank you, control room, for unmuting my mic. So, thank you, brother Kamar, who rang in from the Urdu speaking background. I can relate with you totally. My sister has married a Pakistani brother, and all 5 of the children in their home predominantly speak English. They don't really speak Urdu or Bangla. They speak English. So as much as I encourage my brother-in-law as well as my sister, give your children another language other than just English. So we need to introduce our children to a third language, and it's easily done because we know there are many people in the world who can speak more than one language. So let's not fall into the trap, so to speak, of us being like the majority of our fellow countrymen in the UK only speaking in English. The Welsh can speak Welsh and English. the English tend to only really speak English. So let us as Bengalis learn more than just English. Let's learn the Bangla. Let's also learn the Arabic. And Brother Ripon mentioned about how we may learn Arabic more for our religious need. But let's learn to speak the language of Arabic. Let's learn to speak the language of Bangla.
Okay, Muhammad, sorry. Just finish your point.
So there's many ways that Bangla is also found, and vice versa, in the Arabic language. To expand our minds, to expand our intelligence, আরেকটা ভাষার লয়া যদি আমরা শিখতাম পারি, শুদ্ধ ভাষা হোক বা সিলেটি ভাষা হোক, আমরা যদি ও মারফতে যদি আমরা তুলজা যদি মারতে পারি, সেটা পাইনে বিভিন্ন বিভিন্ন ফিল্ডের মাঝে, নলেজের মাঝে আমরাও শিখতে পারবো, আমরা জ্ঞানটা আরো বাড়াইতে পারবো, আমরা যে brain capacity বাড়াইতে পারে. So it's
okay. Muhammad, Jazakallah khair. There's a request, Rupon, request by Khalid Ahmed. His request is, Rupon, can you please kindly speak Silati? And Tanzila, request from Muhammad Ahmed, can you speak Barishal before the end of the program?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's now over to you. Can you make your point in English and part in Barishal as well?
Yeah. Well, I want to mention first two things that I could not finish. Actually, I think if I like something, if I can feel something very important in my life, it doesn't matter how hard it is, it will learn. But if I don't care about something, it doesn't matter it's cheap or it's expensive, I don't care. So I think this is the matter. The awareness, we need to understand our language, Bangla, our culture and everything is very expensive. It's like expensive, like a treasure. So we need to respect and love. If we love, then we learn. Doesn't matter how hard. Doesn't matter how big or small our children. We can't teach them. So this is my point. That's why maybe lot of parents, they are not encouraging their children because they don't know how important, how necessary for a child when they are grew up to hold the legacy, hold their root. Okay, so now I'm going to speak in Borishal. So আমার মনে হয় কিছু কিছু প্যারেন্টস আছে তারা বোঝে না যে কতটা মূল্যবান, কতটা দরকার বাংলা ভাষা, বাংলা কালচার রপ্ত করা। তো তারা নিজেরা এই প্রয়োজনীয়তা বোঝে না, নিজেরা মূল্য দেয় না, দাম দেয় না, যার কারণে সে দামি মনে করে না, বাচ্চাকেও শিখায় না। কিন্তু আসলে এই আমাদের ভাষা, আমার বাংলা, আমাদের ঐতিহ্য, আমাদের যত সংস্কৃতি, বাংলার ঐতিহ্য সবকিছু আমাদের কাছে ট্রেজার, সম্পদ। এখন এই সম্পদটাকে আমাকে কি করতে হবে? সেভ করতে হবে, আগলে রাখতে হবে, আমাদের বাচ্চাকে শিখাতে হবে। সো এই বোধটা, এই ভালোবাসাটা, এই অনুপ্রেরণাটা বাচ্চাকে দিতে হবে। আমি অ্যাজ এ প্যারেন্টস হিসেবে যদি বাচ্চাকে অনুপ্রাণিত করতে পারি, তাহলে বাচ্চা শিখবে, এনকারেজ ফিল করবে, প্রাউড ফিল করবে, সেলফ এস্টিম বাড়বে, তার মধ্যে তার দেশের প্রতি, তার আইডেন্টিটির প্রতি খুব প্রাউড ফিল করবে এবং তখন তারা ইজিলি বাংলা শিখবে। এবং শুধু শিখবে না, জিসিসিতে বাংলা এক্সটার্নাল একটা কি নেওয়া যায়, সাবজেক্ট নেওয়া যায়। একটা বাচ্চা যখন ভালো বাংলা পারবে এবং লিখতে পারবে, এটা এমনি স্টার, ডাবল স্টার পেয়ে যাবে। একটা ভালো স্কোর পেতে হলে ইজিলি সে নিজের ঘরের মধ্যে যা আছে তার থেকেই পারে। তো আমরা প্যারেন্টসরা আমাদের বাচ্চাদেরকে এভাবে এনকারেজ করতে হবে যে তোমরা স্প্যানিশ শিখতে পারো, ফ্রেঞ্চ শিখতে পারো, সেভাবে বাংলা শিখে স্টার পাও, ভালো মার্কস পেতে পারো। তো আমাদেরকে প্রয়োজনীয়তা দেখাতে হবে, ওদেরকে বোঝাতে হবে যে মেধা বিকাশের জন্য বাংলা নিজের ভাষাটা অনেক জরুরি, তুমি গর্ববোধ করবা। থ্যাংক ইউ, ধন্যবাদ।
তানজিলা আপা,
জি
এই তো
ভাইয়া।
এই ভাষা আপনি যে বলছেন,
জি ভাইয়া।
লাগলো আমার কাছে একটা শুদ্ধ ভাষা, ঢাকা। এটা আপনি বরিশাল আর ঢাকা সেম সেম?
ভাইয়া সত্যি কথা কি, মানে আমি জন্ম বরিশালে, বাট আসলে পড়াশোনা বেড়ে ওঠা তো ঢাকায়, মানে এখন এই মিক্স হয়ে গেছে আমার ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজটা। আমি যেটা বলছি এটা কিন্তু আসলে একটু মিক্স, নরমাল শুদ্ধ ভাষা বরিশাল মিক্স ভাইয়া।
Did you see me try out in Shuddha Bhasha? Okay. I studied in Bangladesh. I did my international dissertation for 6 months. Rupon, Yusuf Khan, he makes a comment that if somebody has multiple languages, it enhances their employability and also, problem solving. It really helps. So it's advantageous for young people to have multiple language. Now, why lose a language that we already have? Um, we have a caller. Let's take the call, and maybe, inshallah, you can speak a bit of Silati as per the request. Okay, let's take the caller. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Do you want me to answer?
It's me, Muhammad again. I'm calling in from abroad. I feel as though none of you guys actually addressed stated earlier in regards to Sileti being a language itself. And I feel as though the fact that we're not having this honest discussion regarding Sileti, we're going to continue to have an identity crisis. Because
Okay, Muhammad, where are you calling from? You said you're calling from abroad.
Yeah, I'm calling from the Emirates, bro.
Emirates. Okay, Muhammad, can you answer this, please?
Brother Muhammad, thank you for bringing that question up again. I've been reading the comments, and I know it's been mentioned before. It's very interesting that you brought it up, and we should be proud of us speaking Sileti. The region of Sylhet borders Assam and other parts of northeastern India. They also speak the language similar to how we speak it. They may even also preserve it better as well.
Korimganj, Kachar, Hailakandi, and Hodai, which is a Sylheti enclave in northeastern India.
Yes, so obviously you're aware of the regional areas that speak the language. But what we are experiencing here in the United Kingdom is that overall the Bengali language is dying. So whether Sylheti be in itself regarded as an own language,
understand. Can I just interject? Sandy, if you don't mind? But the reason why I mentioned this is because beyond 95% of the Bangladeshi diaspora inside the United Kingdom are of Sylheti heritage. This is why I'm mentioning this, bro. So if we are 95% Sylheti, right, and then you've got the Sylheti people in the other panels which I've mentioned already, right? But let's just focus on Britain. So 95% are Sylheti. Sylheti has practically died out because it's been completely neglected, and we're focusing on Bangla, which is not even our language. Can I just ask you, any of those of you who are Sylheti, how many of you actually spoke Bangla inside your house growing up? Not Sylheti, Bangla.
Okay, I'll just be very honest and frank. Okay, Muhammad, I'll be very honest and frank. Until recently, I did not even know that Sylheti language was a language. I didn't know that we had our own alphabets and the whole history. I'll put my hands up.
Now you understand what I'm saying, though. You see how we lived in the dark.
Yeah. Listen, we speak the language that our parents spoke, and it's Sylheti dialect, which I thought was
it's not a dialect. But it's not trying to say, brother. It's not actually a dialect. It's actually a language. We have our own script. Sylheti Nagri.
But we were taught that. You have to understand. We were taught.
You know who resurrected our language? There's a doctor, okay? There's a doctor called Dr. C. Lloyd Williams. She's a specialist in a computer-related field. Her husband is James Lloyd Williams. They actually resurrected our language. They found some putties, okay? They found some putties written in Bangla, in the actual Bangla script. Then they found some putties written in the actual Sylheti language script, and they cross-referenced it to actually ascertain which symbols made which sound. Our language, in terms of its scripture, has been resurrected. But
can I say, is Sylheti language called, sorry, I'm going to just interject. Is Sylheti language called Nagri?
No, the scripture is called Nagri. The language is called Sylheti. It's simple as that.
Oh.
Okay.
There's no ambiguity about it.
Mm.
so I just want to know then.
Oh,
So
You know what? Sorry,
oh,
Muhammad. Let Muhammad speak. Inshallah, Muhammad, you were saying.
তো আমরা সময় আমরা সিলেটি ভাষায় শিখি না যেটা আমরা শিখি আমরা ব্যবসা সাইনটা আমরা গরম আছে শিখাই না তো যে সময় আমরা বই খাতা যে সময় যাই না এই সময় the Sileti language is there. So that is the immediate issue we have if we want to learn Sileti, if we want to promote it, understand it, fall in love with it. We only communicate at this moment for our generations as a spoken language. When it comes to studying the language of our parents, it's we refer to what's written in the books. So if there were more selective, then we
Correct.
were.
That's Bangla. But this is what I'm saying, Brother Abdullah. Sorry if you don't mind. Please accept my apologies for interjecting.
I love it. I love it.
This, yeah, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah,
Muhammad.
Just to
I'm going to let you make your final comment because we need to go for a short break.
Okay, so if I may.
No, Muhammad. Let Muhammad from UAE. Let him make the comment.
Okay, thank you, Bishop. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, what Abdullah Bhai just said was a very valid point, a very interesting point. And that is, and this highlights another issue. And the issue is this, right? If we, in terms of scriptography, the scripture, okay, if we only have access to Bangla, then obviously we're going to assume that, okay, this is the only method or means of writing or preserving our language in a written form. But what I'm trying to say is our language in a script form has actually been resurrected. If you guys can do a screen share, you can share it with the viewers, go to a website called sileti.org.uk. There is an abundance of information in regards to our knowledge, and there's a very, I've got so much respect for these guys. These are non-Sileti guys who have actually showed immense passion and drive to actually maintain and bring the awareness of our language to the wider community. Our language is actually now, it's possible for you to now purchase books in the original Sileti script for you to learn. And I am in the process of learning it myself. And on social media now, there's a very there's a strong awareness.
Muhammad, can you just say, can you just give the website again, please? So there's hundreds of people who are thousands who are going to watch this. What's the website again?
Sileti.org.uk. অনেক গেলে আপনি ভাই আমরা বাসার কি লেখা দেন all the characters সব ধরে সবটা ভাই.
Okay, Muhammad, I'm going to have to let you go.
Like hundreds of years. It goes back hundreds of years. There's manuscripts, Islamic manuscripts written in Sileti.
I'm going to have to let you go, Muhammad. Okay, because time is running. We're in the final segment of our show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're just going to have a short break. I'm going to ask our technician to show Abul's story. It's another aspect of our work that 13 Rivers does. We showed the orphans one. Now Abul's story. It's only a few minutes long. If you could just watch this, inshallah.
My name is Abul Mia. I am 28 years old. I suffer from Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a muscle wasting disease. I have had this condition for when I was 7, but when I was 13, that's when it kicked in. That's when I stopped walking. Overnight, I use a ventilator, which helps me breathe in the night. So my lungs are pumped like fully, so all the carbon dioxide could come out, and it helps me sleep better. At the morning, my carers come, and that's when I take the ventilator off and get hoisted onto the wheelchair. And then I go downstairs bathroom using the flue 4 lift in my house. Then in the toilet, of course, I use the toilet. I wash myself if I need to. Well, my carers, they help me do it. I brush my teeth. And then I get dressed. Well, when I was younger, I was able to walk and I used to play football. So I wanted to, maybe be a football player. But then once I became on a wheelchair, I thought I could maybe be a jet fighter or drive a tank or something. Challenges I face is quite numerous. Through being I don't have a lot of movement with my arms, like I can't lift them up freely, so that restricts me doing certain stuff. I can't like reach certain levels and heights. I can't open the door. Regarding my condition, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, my doctors have said what they predict is my disability, my muscle wasting disability, is gonna deteriorate. It's gonna get worse, and they're trying to maintain it as possible by giving me certain medication and certain treatment, like using the ventilator and the night, using a cough assist, which helps me cough. And also, this condition doesn't only affect my muscle, it also affects my like respiratory system, so my lung. It also affects my heart. I recorded myself. I want to reflect my past few months, how it's been, and also I want people to see what the challenges people like me face, and I think not a lot of people realize how challenging it is for people like us. So I want everyone to get a little insight of the struggles we face as people with disabilities.
Jazakallah khair. The video that you've seen, Abul is a patron of Eating Care, one of the programs of 13 Rivers Trust. We work with people who are reaching end of life, people who are terminally ill. My apologies. We had over 70 comments. We couldn't read all of them out. There were quite a number of callers coming in. We're into our last and final segment, and if I could go back to my guests, I just want to say, and this is, whether we had a Pakistani brother who called in. We also could. There's also we couldn't answer a few calls. My apologies for that. It's been very interactive. I think just in that hour and a bit, we've had that many comments, and we had quite a lot of callers. It's going to go to what I will say to you. Please share. We need to continue this discussion. Share this video, like, and I want to say that without being rude to Brother Muhammad from UAE, we are losing the Bangla language, we're losing the Sylheti language, and we're losing other languages. And what we as a community need to do is come together. Rupon, they offer Arabic language. So our priorities we need to reprioritize. So Rupon, I want to come back. I know, do you want to try speaking Sylheti, or do you want to just try to answer that?
Let me think about that. I wanted to just go back to a number of points. I think Mohammed made a very valid point about the Sylheti language being a language in its own right, and the need to preserve that. And you experienced that with, for example, let's say Nigeria. I have a lot of students from Nigeria, and we make the assumption that Nigeria is one country and that they speak perhaps one or two or three languages. In fact, Nigeria is a political construct. It's a post-colonial makeup, and there are so many, maybe hundreds of languages and tribes, and likewise, what we take as a language is perhaps we're misinformed. So the Bangla is a classic case, in the sense that those who are in power will seek to augment and promote a particular part of the culture and then project that as a universal phenomena across the whole of Bangladesh. And you have that with many different languages. But a question to the panel, and this is a question to all of us here. Why is it that, let's say, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Mandarin, or a particular branch of Chinese, why is it, and also Hindi, Hindi, why is it that those languages are actually experiencing growth and quote unquote preservation? There is a common theme here.
Okay.
Does anyone have that answer?
They promoted it. It's the way it's accessible. You can learn any of these languages you've mentioned through software like Rosetta Stone or Babel. It's so much more easier to access these languages. And I learned Arabic online because the knowledge is there, but I cannot find anything in Bangla or Silati to learn online. Anything that's been developed as a software package that's easily accessible to learn those languages. And that's what I mentioned before. The way to go forward to learn a language is through online tutoring. Even during lockdown, people are relying on online tuition more. So that's how I think we can learn Bangla in the future.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to just get Tanzina in there, and then Rupon, you can. Tanzina, Rupon's asked a question. If you could try to comment, inshallah.
Yeah, আমি মনে করি I think this is a lack of awareness. I don't prioritize my language and I don't give access to my son, to my children. That's why we are not getting respect for our language. We don't show love and affection and we don't want to keep it. That's why people are not respect. If I don't value myself, if I don't value my language, I think how can I expect other people do? So if I expect, if I show interest, then people will be okay. Let's see, let's do it. So I think this is the core matter that I don't feel confident, I don't feel love, I don't feel aware. That's why people don't also. And this is the important part. I should love and I should show respect. I should show my children that kind of affection. Then we grew the affectionate inside among us. So if I do, my family, my relative, my neighbor, my friend's family who are Bangladeshi, they will say, okay, my child can speak Bangla, your child can speak Bangla. So together, look, they are speaking. So they feel confident. So when my child goes somewhere and they don't speak Bangla, they just speak English. But when in home, they feel good, they feel confident, they speak. So I think this is the main thing. We need to teach our children the beauty of mother tongue, the beauty of own identity, the beauty of own culture. If we can make them understand how important and valuable resource is like a treasure, so then it will be more and more applicable to other people, respect by other people, and it will be getting popularity. This is my opinion.
Okay, Rupon, this is going to be the final question to Rupon. Then I'm going to get everyone to summarize in 1 minute, and then we'll have to conclude. We've gone over, by the way, by 22 minutes. Rupon, tomorrow ami Bangla hoimo. I hope you understand. Balatike Bangla language or much strong now. Yeah. Okay. I'll say it in English. You haven't got a strong Bangla.
Say it in Silati.
Okay. Tomar Bangla মারতেও পারো না, বালাটিকে মারতে পারো না। তোমার বউ ওইলা আরেক দেশি বাঙালি নাই, তো হুরুতাই তে কিতা ধরো তুমি তোমার বউ ওইলা রাশা তাহন, তোমার বউ হিকাইতা চাইবা রাশন, তুমি বাংলা মারতে পারো না, হুরুতাইতে দাদির মাত বুঝন না, তুমি কিতা করবা? তুমি তোমার লাগি তো কোনো আশা ভরসা নাই। তোমার প্ল্যান কিতা? তোমার হুতাঞ্চরে বাংলা শিখাইবার লাগে। You can answer it in Bangla or English.
All right. So going back to this is really, really important. Going back to my original question, and then I'll answer the personal question. And we have to try to disconnect it from an individualist perspective. Everyone is projecting that the problem we have is an individual problem, the willingness of parents and a generation to teach Bangla to their children. The reason why I mentioned Spanish, French, what else is it? Mandarin, is see what the connection is. The connection is all of these languages. Spanish, for example, is projected to grow, right? Mandarin is projected to grow, okay? These languages are strategically important in the global world that we live in. Firstly, one of the things that none of us have mentioned, and Hindi as well, is Bollywood. Look at the growth of Bollywood. I mean, there are people in Africa, Africans of African heritage, who speak or understand Hindi, right? So the culture industry has, and Muhammad is here and he's doing a fantastic job, but the culture industry plays a phenomenal role in disseminating culture, and language is a very important part of that. The sad fact is, Bangla is not a strategically relevant language, number one. And my projection is this: in about 10 years' time, the language that a lot of Muslims and a lot of people will start learning is Turkish, because Turkey is a rising power, and you can see what's happening with regards to Ertugrul and the movies that they're projecting out across the world. So that's my answer. So let's try to not make it an individual problem, because it's not. It's a global phenomena, and unfortunately, strategy plays in it. Now, do you want me to answer my personal question?
Yes, please answer.
Okay, so actually, my mother has actually addressed this, and she has noticed that amongst her children, and she wants to connect with my children, and that there is a challenge between my mom and my children. My children speak English, and they connect with her. They can understand something, but she's not so fluent in English. So she does want to sit down with my children, and it's something that she wants to do, and a brilliant way to connect with my children and her grandchildren by teaching them the Bangla language. With regards to my own personal priority, of course, I would love to teach my children Silati as a primary tool, but again, it goes back to priorities. My wife is a convert to Islam. For her, the Arabic language is really, really important, because she wants to understand Arabic and read the Quran. So her priority, and remember, the mother rules the roost when it comes to the household, is to learn the Arabic language and then teach that to her children. So we do send our children to madrasa, where they learn the Quran and they learn the language. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. Now, with regards to all the pressures of raising children in a very competitive climate that is the West, English becomes a priority, mathematics becomes a priority, then Arabic. And if I add more pressure to my children, my wife is saying that that's just too much for them, and she's unfortunately taking the lead on that. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, I'm hoping that you're all sharing this post. We need to have more discussions like this. We're going to, inshallah, next week, we're going to have another interesting discussion. Muhammad Abdullah, I want you to sort of summarize your thoughts. You have a minute, inshallah, before we wrap up. You're still muted, I think. Unmute.
Unmuted myself. So জেলা আমরা একসাথে আমরা মাত্রাম, আমরা বাংলা ভাষা মাত্রাম, একটা cultural একটা awareness. So আর রূপন ভাই যেন বলছিল যে আরো বিভিন্ন ভাষা তারা কিলা তারা ভাষাতে প্রজেক্ট করে, আমরাও আমরা এইরকম আমরা প্রজেক্ট করা লাগে, আমরা culturally আমরা আরো ইনভলভ হওয়া লাগে। আমরা সিলেটি হোক নাহলে শুদ্ধ বাংলা হোক, ওটা একটা মাত্রতা মানছে আমরা শুনলে বুঝবা, সো আমরা যদি আয়োজন দেখাই, আমরা যদি মাতি, আমরা ফ্যামিলি যদি মাতি, আমরা যদি অনলাইন গিয়া আমরা যদি একটা জিনিস আমরা যদি শিখতে পারি, আমরা বাসে একটা ড্রামা, একটা জিনিস, একটা ডকুমেন্টারি, একটা ইতিহাস হিস্ট্রি দেখার একটা প্রোগ্রাম যদি আমরা যদি দেখি, আমরা বইন যেন আগে যেন ফোন করে যেন বলছিল হয়েছিল যেন পাঠানা যেন তাই না, আমার ফিল্মও দেখেন। তো এইরকম আমরা যদি কালচারালি যদি আমরা যদি আরো ওয়াইজ যদি করি, আরো যদি মহব্বত মায়ের যদি আমরা বাড়াই, তা আমি মনে করি যে না আমরা বাংলাদেশ আমরা ফুটাইতে শিখাইবা লাগি আরো ইজি হইব। আমরা দুইজন আমরা বাচ্চাই বাবা পাইতে আমরা দুইও দুইও জেনারেশনে আমরা বাংলা হিপা ডিসকাভার করতে পারি বা মায়া আমরা হিপা আমরা রাখতে পারি।
Jazakallah khair. Sister Tanzila, you have a minute to summarize, inshallah.
ধন্যবাদ ভাইয়া। অনেক সুন্দর আলোচনা হয়েছে, সবার মতামত। তো আমি বলবো রূপক ভাইয়া যেটা বলেছে, রূপক ভাইয়া said also a very good comment. I think the industry, like Bangla industry, like the Abdullah bhaiya, who are doing some media work, they can show some amazing film or drama or something. It will bring up attention of the other people. So firstly, as I mentioned, always parents. Also, with parents, our community play a role, right? The after school club, Bangla school, also organization like cultural function, like Bangladeshi fair, like Tower Hamlet does a big fair for Bangladeshi Boishaki. So not only parents actually, also Rupok Bhaiya said, also Abdul Bhaiya said, for media. So different organization, different body, they can play a role to promote mother tongue. So overall, doesn't matter how much big or small they put effort the other side, the other people. But again and again, I would like to say, parents, please, you are the first. So if you speak Bangla in home, they will encourage, they will feel proud, and they will learn. Thank you so much.
Walaikum salam. Tanzila, your book, can you just show it again? You represent an organization called Bank of Ideas. You can be found on Facebook. Rupon Arabica Institute also can be found on Facebook. Where can they buy this book, Mind Your Mother Tongue?
They can put on Google, they can just write the name and they can show the Amazon link. It is in our Amazon.
Okay. Great contribution. Dear brothers and sisters, we want to continue. I know there's quite a lot of people. I had a PhD graduate, she's listening in, not Muslim, but there's a lot of interest in change of food culture within our community. It was rice and curry, now it's something else. Back in the 70s and the 80s, sisters were wearing saris. Now the sari is gone, and then the whole jilbab is going. Young people are adapting. Our culture and our heritage is key, and is connected to language also. Just before I summarize, I want to say to you all that the first video that you watched was on Shamima. Her mother died, her father left her on her grave. If you are interested in getting involved and sponsoring one orphan or two orphans, please contact us. Where a year ago we had only 2-3 orphans, and now we have over 54 orphans that we are looking after them long term and short term. Eating care, if you want to volunteer, if you want to go and visit somebody who's terminally ill, we've got quite a lot of COVID families where the main breadwinner has passed away, and only recently we're dealing with a query where we're trying to supply them with regular food, warm food. If you want to volunteer, contact us. In terms of the summary of the show, I will say very soon, possibly in our lifetime, we're going to see that our children will forget the language. And closely connected to that is our identity, our heritage, their heritage. So try your best to speak Bangla, Silati at home. Don't, this is what my children said. My oldest daughter, she goes, Baba, when I speak Bangla, my broken Bangla, people laugh at me. And that puts me down. That reduces my confidence. So whoever's watching, do not laugh at children. It's not funny. They're making an effort. Okay. The important one that we didn't talk about is mother tongue classes. Where have they gone? Majority people living in town hamlets and other pots. Where are the mother tongue classes? We need to put pressure on the schools in the evening madrasas to introduce Bangla, particularly schools in town hamlets, in Newham, where majority of the students are Bengali, and they need to reintroduce that. I am very sorry that I could not take everybody's calls. I'd like to say, all the comments. Just please share. Alhamdulillah, so many people have been trying to call. A lot of comments. Please share and let's educate the community. We will have more shows on this topic. Jazakallah khair to all my guests. Thank you very much. How did I do today with Abdul Bhai?
Bala.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for your time and energy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for inviting us. Thank you, everyone, all the audience. Thank you.
Okay.
Dhanyabad.